Hi, everybody who's joining in. Hi, Ria. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick introduction to Alaokika, our very special guest today. Alaokika Bharwani is a clinically trained psychotherapist and mental health consultant who has trained in India and the US and worked with some of the top professionals in the field. She has worked with various types of emotional conditions that can, by the way, crop up at any time, she says, like anxiety disorders, eating disorders, impulse control disorders, that is your anger management and things like that, mood disorders, which is your depression, sexual disorders, substance related disorders, which is alcohol and drugs, and premarital and marriage counseling. So you know that once you get off this chat, if you guys have any of these issues, she's definitely somebody to talk to. And Alaokika, are you booking sessions for patients online now?
Yes, all the sessions are online right now, Shannon.
All of them are online. So people can book a session with you even after they watch you today. And
yes.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk to you very specifically today about being a freelance artist in the music industry or the dance industry or the acting industry or the movie. You know, anybody who has a job that is not, paid by a salary, that is guaranteeing them security and things like that. And with the event of the lockdown coming in, we have a whole host of problems that have come up for all of us. The number one concern being the whole fact of the uncertainty in the whole aspect of whether do I have my job, do I not have my job, will I get laid off, things like that. So my first question to you, because I'm going to start, is uncertainty is a big factor in stress. When will things return to normal? And will I lose my job? What is my future if I'm laid off? These are the questions that people have asked us. And Alaokika, how would you recommend us to control that major negativity that consumes us during particularly a lockdown period or a pandemic?
So, Shannon, these are very interesting times, first and foremost, and extremely, even us as therapists are really grappling with this, right? We're also trying to make sense of what's happening. Because we've had uncertainty in our life all the time, except that now it's come literally with flashing neon signs in front of us, right? Life is uncertain, which is one of the tenets of life, Shannon. The thing is that because we don't live so much and we ignore it, the pandemic has brought it right to our doorstep. So one is to understand that uncertainty is a part of our life. But what is happening over here? Can you hear me, Shannon?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. What is happening right now is the uncertainty doesn't have an end.
Yeah.
Right? Which is what is giving rise to a lot of anxiety. Because when we know that there has been issues in the past that have happened before, it's always come with some end to it. ये होगा तो फिर ये ठीक हो जाएगा in that much time. But now, because of this prolonged sense of uncertainty, there is so much anxiety that's going on. There's such a sense of a loss of our whole world, loss of our routines, loss of what we used to think we could do so easily. So one is, I think, like I say, when life has turned itself upside down, it's time that we also learn to put ourselves on the barbell and look at life upside down in a different way, right? So one is to accept what is happening first and foremost, right? Just with a deep breath, realize what we're going through. What we are already doing, Shannon, is pressing the panic button very fast without the pause. So the first thing is just take a moment and accept what's going on within you and honor what's going on. So whether it's like all the questions come up, what is going to happen? Am I going to have my job? Where am I going to get my next gig from for the freelance artist? What's the money that's going to come in? What's the world going to look like? So everything that's disrupted now, first just take a moment to pause, accept, and just breathe it all in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've been doing that every day, a little bit every day.
Because we have to sift ourselves from the mass hysteria and anxiety that's coming. And there is mass hysteria. Because this pandemic is going to mean very different things to a lot of people in a very unique way, right? So the ones who are already struggling, it's going to take a turn for the worse. For the ones who are staying afloat, what is the meaning now after this? For the ones who have been thriving, what does it mean now? How will I continue further? So everything the pandemic poses or whatever this brings to it is a very individual way of looking at things from your own perspective. But some of the things that we can do, I feel, is that the first thing I say is deal with the stress that's going to come with it, because that's our first aid that we need to do, right? So look after your mental, emotional, and physical health.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
that's the first aid before we get to the next existential questions that are going to come. Is that without getting, if we don't move from the survival zone, we can't think. Right? So we have to move from a sense of survival, which is a fight and flight mechanism, into some sort of a thinking to be able to think ahead. Otherwise, its functioning becomes difficult.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
we have to start making a little bit of sense of that before we start sifting through some of the questions that are going to come. You know, your first, oh my God, what's going to happen has to be gone down
Controlled.
before, yeah, a little bit before we start functioning. Otherwise, like I say, anxiety is normal, Shannon. It's bound to happen. Think of the stuff that we're going through. But panic is very contagious, and panic doesn't allow us to think rationally.
Yeah.
So on a
WhatsApp
daily
has a
basis,
big part of that. It's
forget that.
terrible.
Media, oh my God, when I
Yeah,
put on the
media.
TV, I'm horrified. It takes me about half an hour after I watch TV to calm myself down. Because
Yeah.
while I'm watching it, I'm realizing my heartbeat is elevating, whether I like it or not. If you really drop into your body, you will realize that the heartbeat is elevating.
Yeah.
And that's when I
That's
have to
crazy.
really decompress to kind of
Yeah.
make sense of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Amazing.
yeah. So that's just like I'm saying, to start with the conversation, and
Accepting.
also, yeah, acceptance. Just accept first what's going on. Take a moment to pause and breathe and just take it all in and process it. We have to learn
Yeah.
to process our emotions. So there's we call it the 3A process of be aware of the emotion, accept the emotion, and allow the emotion to come through.
I want to write down everything you're saying. But it's good because everybody who's watching in, thank you for joining. We're going to save this session and it's either going to go up as our IGTV or as a YouTube video. So yes. So acceptance. And I want to give you a
Yes.
small little thing about like a personal experience when the lockdown first hit and I was left with the whole no maid thing. And this is a very, very silly thing compared to what other people are going through, but it was it was my truth. There was a lot of adjustment. I was consumed with being overwhelmed with everything that I had to do and work at the same time. But it's become routine now only because at some point I just said, screw it, man. This is my everyday. I think now there's no, because I think earlier when this first started, we were still in a place of like, oh, maybe this is going to end
Yeah.
soon. But now it doesn't look like that at all. I don't think it's going to end soon for a very long time. So it's also helped to realize that, get on with it because the whole year is going to pass by and then you're going to wonder what happened. So acceptance,
Also,
yes, it has helped
yeah.
me for sure.
And lockdown started a lot with enthusiasm, actually.
Yeah.
Everybody started with, oh my God, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to do. And it became all about being, as I call, productivity porn. Everybody was just,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? What are we going to get out of it? And I was just like, okay, so we went from enthusiasm to despair, to helplessness, to anger, which is what I say are the five, like a lot of it resembling what we call the 5 stages of grief in some ways. But we went, and now we've come to a lot of people feeling helpless, which is where I'm a little alarmed. And I would like to tell people that let's go from helplessness to helpfulness.
Yeah.
And let's not stay in helplessness, because that's going to happen a lot. There's a sense
Yeah.
of despair, the sense of being, I don't know what's going to happen. Now, we don't have answers for everything, but we do have answers in the present moment, Shannon. But we
Yeah.
don't necessarily have answers for the future, but we have to learn to stay in the present moment and make our helplessness into helpfulness in whatever ways that we can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That one answer was enough to, figure out a lot of things that we've all been trying to figure out this whole time. So in the topic about, us being artists and everything, our next question is about, because we are artists, it's difficult to focus on a practice regime and dive into creating either new music or art, whatever your passion may be. And when there's so much worry. Now, because we are people who need to constantly create art in this industry, How do you suggest the mind stays creative despite all the looming dread in the air? This is the how do you stick with your creativity? And I felt that as well. Songwriting has to come from a place of being very, for me, relaxed, and you have to really, really get into your thoughts and figure out stuff. And if there's so much of craziness happening, what is your process to guide someone through that?
So, Shannon, like I was saying, it has to come in the daily stuff that you do. There's not something that's going to inspire you in a big way. But it's the small little H's, like I say, like the small little joys and happinesses that we look through the day that will add meaning to the big happinesses in life. Though the English is incorrect, but just stay with that. It's the small H's, as I say. So if we don't, and especially as artists, I feel, and I wrote this down, if you don't connect with your inner world, you don't give space to what is alive within you. And that's very, very pertinent to people who are artistic, right? So to keep that creativity alive, to keep the sense of hopefulness alive, you'll have to follow and anchor certain things within yourself. I mean, there's no difference between being an artist or being a human or doing all of that. The only thing that I feel with artistic is don't let the sense of despair come in the way of your creativity. And you'll have, as for an artist, you'll have to be able to hit that space in between where that doesn't come in. You'll have to keep on clearing that space for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So like I said, I'm going to give you like sort of, let me just make it very instructional for now, but maybe that's a couple of tips that would help. So like I say, one of the aspects is the mental aspect is, please don't consume so much social media.
That was in one of my questions.
The moment the heartbeat gets elevated, you will not be able to drop into your body. And as artists, you don't sing from your head, you sing from your soul. Clear the soul, clear the body. It's not going to be able to connect. Okay? Keep your daily structures on. Whatever you do, what I call the core routine. Keep your quarantine routine on. Keep challenging yourself to learn something new. And like I said, this is not about being a productivity person or going into the whole let me learn this, but whatever you can, challenge yourself so the mind keeps the cogs going all the time, right? Work on self-discipline and self-responsibility. Okay, so that's the mental aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
The emotional aspect of it is ground yourself daily in whatever emotional anchors that you like. For
grind
example,
also. We have to grind also.
The ground will
We're
get
grinding.
you. The ground will get you to the grind, probably.
Correct.
But in the emotional aspect is practice emotional regulation and what I call self-soothing behaviors, right? Whether it's your meditative stuff that you do, whether it's sort of, any yoga practices that you do that allow you to drop into your body. Do a body scan on a daily basis. Where is the tightness? I mean, again, for you as artist, you open the body up, your voice opens up. I always think that don't open the voice till you don't open the body, because where there's tightness, it's going to not be able to go everywhere else. So do the body scan, see where the tightness is, release it. It'll help you to release whatever you want to within yourself. 3 times in a day for 10 minutes, elevate yourself with something, whether it's music, whether it's dance, whether you want to put on something, whether you want to cook something. Elevate your own self, because you will have to pull yourself out of the trenches. No one's going to do it for you. Right?
Yeah, there's no hard and fast. Sorry, continue.
And then, of course, your social engagement system. I cannot tell you right now how important mass response, I'm calling it mass connection, mass responsibility, and solidarity is. We cannot get through this pandemic without solidarity. It is going to be near to impossible. What is keeping us alive is our social engagement system. Connect. Keep on connecting with your people. If there's that one person you can connect with, that's enough. But just keep on connecting, because we are social creatures. And the one thing that the pandemic has taken away is the social, the distance that's happened. That in fact is going to take a bigger toll. So keep on connecting with people. That comes to the emotional aspect. And of course, is the physical aspect. Please eat healthy, get off your sugar. Don't let the body be inflamed. Drink plenty of water, exercise, get enough sleep, rest and relaxation, and use your self-touch or self-healing methods. So just, if you keep to this, the emotional, mental, and physical aspect of it, you will come out of this, hopefully, with the sanity intact.
Those are some insane points that I'm telling you. I think you need to write a book, or I need to write all these points down in my book. But I'm so glad we're saving the session. That was amazing. Everything that you're saying is making so much sense to me personally, and I hope to everybody who's watching. If you guys are
I hope
enjoying
so
whatever
too.
she's saying, please just
I
give
hope
us
so
a
too.
thumbs up in the comments. So there was a question that somebody wrote, and this is a young singer. What if everyone cannot be productive during this time? Does it
Of
make it
course.
okay? And there was another one that was in connection to this saying, I feel like I'm losing out and I'm demotivated and I feel like everybody's moving ahead without me. So these are from like young singers from the vocal tribe.
So one thing, please let me make it very clear, and I'm putting it in bold. Thriving does not mean being productive. Thriving does not mean being productive. You get out of this just keeping yourself alive, intact, doing what you need to do daily, just doing your ordinary stuff, not doing anything big. That's it. That's it. Please do not think that you have to come out of this, more enriched in some ways or more doing things in some ways. No, 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 no. So you thriving does not mean productivity. Even if you get by doing what you need to do, doing your ordinary stuff for the day, being available for your family, keeping yourself grounded, it's more than enough.
Yeah.
So
That's
please realize
true.
that.
Because there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure. People are comparing themselves all the time. Social media doesn't help. I haven't walked into the kitchen even once and cooked something. I see some of the instas of some of my friends and what they're making and cooking, and I'm just like, geez, man, what does
Bread.
that say about me? Yeah.
Everyone's just making bread.
I'm like, okay, I can give pravachans and I'm good at that, and maybe that's enough. But that's it. That's all I can do. If I can do my pravachan well and I can do that just amount, that's good enough. I don't have to be the cook. I don't have to be the greatest mother. I'm just about sane enough. If I scream once or twice, good enough, just basic stuff.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm handling it, managing.
Perfect.
Good enough.
That's amazing. Yeah. So then we had another question in relation to the creating of art. Now this is something that I found very sweet and very raw in its nature. The question was, how does one find it in them to create art when their heart is broken?
Some of the greatest art has been created when the heart has been broken. Some of the greatest poetry has been created when the heart has been broken. Some of the best stuff has come out through tragic stuff in history. Things that we didn't think that one could come up with has come up from those. When the soul has been broken, there has to be something that comes out of it, right? So I always feel like if you can look at this and if you can find meaning, that's the whole thing. If you look at any kind of tragedy that's happened in the past, right? We're talking about the big ones, whether it's been 9/11, whether it's been 26/11, whether it's been the genocides, whether it's been Holocaust. Anybody who's gotten out of it, Shannon, has had to find some meaning out of it. That's the only way it starts making sense to us, because otherwise the whole overwhelming experience makes us feel very distressed. So if you read Viktor Frankl's books, Man's Search for Meaning, he calls it tragic optimism. He says some of my best work has been produced from that.
Yeah, right? So I agree.
If we can find meaning through that, and I don't think you need to find meaning, but if it does come to you, then you'll make something out of it. And you'll figure that stuff out, And if it doesn't, that doesn't mean agree. Anything. Yeah.
Amazing. So you guys, whenever your heart is broken, just go take a book and write songs. You'll get your best work out of heartbreak and things that you go through. I've gone through it like personally myself, so I can vouch for that for sure. So our next question is, as a freelancer, there has always been a point where somebody starts from scratch. Now I'm talking about building something new when you're not working for a company. And it is we're completely reliant on our own self for the motivation, for the push to promote, market, build your art, whatever product you're trying to put out there. It's a lot, right? Just to do by yourself. There also comes this fear of, oh my God, I'm entering something new in my life. How do I approach this? And it's also, I guess, connected to our next question, which is the fear of showing your art, which is, I'm so guilty of this, I cannot tell you. The fear of showing your
Oh,
art.
imposter syndrome.
And, this whole thing of, yes, imposter syndrome. What will people think? They won't like it. Will I get work? Will I be labeled as only this type of artist because I've just put out this type of song, etc., etc.? So I would say this question is mainly related to the fear of showing your art and also the fear of rejection.
So I think somewhere, Shannon, I'll tell you, and I'm going to speak about this a bit personally, is that everyone has self-doubts, and I think we need to be a little more vocal about it. And I always tell people in the professional field also, put your vulnerabilities down. All of us as therapists don't have it all together. Express it. Sometimes people learn from it. So, before I went on Insta, I used to always feel like, oh my God, what if I don't speak well? And I've been in this industry long enough to know that this is in my DNA. But still, the doubts will come. What if people think that, oh my God, I really don't know my stuff? But somewhere I realized that I have to start rewriting the script in my head. And somewhere there was a couple of things some people said to me, and I held on to that. Like, it could be someone saying that, oh, I like the way you speak. And I said, you know what? They said that to me. And I'm going to remember that, because I'm going to rewrite my script and say, I have something to say to the world, and I want the world to hear it, even if they don't like it. But that one guy liked it, and that's enough for me. And that enough for me is enough for me to put it out on the table and say, okay, one liked it, 100 didn't, but the one counted. So somewhere we'd have to figure a way out to sort of put our scripts out without the fear, whether it's a film guy today who says, I think my script is not that great, whether it gets rejected by 5, but he believes in it. So I feel somewhere to understand that this is your script, man. Don't sell the soul out because people don't like it. There is something of value that you want to put out there. Just put it out there. And some of it is feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Shannon, whenever I get on an Insta live, doesn't matter how well I know my stuff, there's still fear out there. You still feel people are judging you. Are they going to really look at you that way? Is what you're going to say make sense? So I just feel like we've got to feel some of that dhak and still put our work out there. And still know that in the 5 words that resonated with me out of the people that I admired stays with me no matter what. I hold them on like my anchors. I really do. And I think that's really helped is, recognize that you have it. It's normal. Rewrite your script inside the way you want to, where you catch whatever. Like I call these people your protectors in life. Whatever your protectors have said to you, it could be a quote that you read. It could be a person that you know. Hold on to those. Put your script out there. Believe in yourself. That's all that you can do. That's all that's within your control. Right?
I'm gonna take that directly to heart because I have this problem. Fear of showing your art. Major. It's taken me so long to put out my original music and I'm still doing it. But now, like this year, I've said, chuck it. I'm just gonna do it because I've played it to people and they've liked it, and that has given me the confidence, definitely. So, but I have to deal with the other part that you were saying about the 100 people not liking it. That's my issue. I need to get over that.
And also, as I think people in society, we are not taught how to deal with what we call so-called rejection or so-called failure. Success is obviously, rewarded, and failure is not. But, we have this horrible language for failure, and failure is all about setbacks, and setbacks teach us growth. Without any setbacks in life, there is going to be no growth. So that's just the lessons of life. Now, no one's taught us in school that, or in the school of life that this is going to happen to you. It's accepted. How you deal with it is what's going to determine the next step. So, reframe the word failure also.
Yeah.
Just reframe it.
Something that I thought of recently was that when we were in school, and this was like long ago when we were in school and anybody had not passed on to the next year, and like the teachers would say things like, oh, we have 2 failures this year. Yeah. And now when I think about it, I'm like, how could they ever call kids failures? That's literally what they were named in school. Like if the school was talking about how many people made it through the 10th standard, which was like a big thing for like, what was the whole thing of like full 100% passing or something they would say. And there were no failures this year. And now that I think about it was so normal to say the word failure at that time. And it was just about someone not passing to the next year. But now when I think about it, it's such a bad way to speak about someone who didn't make it to the next year.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. You're absolutely right about just
also,
the language itself.
What we make normative takes away people's uniqueness. No? At the moment we
Yeah.
make a norm, we've taken away uniqueness. It's as simple as that. The moment I standardize anything, I've taken away the voice of the people and I've taken away their uniqueness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's what schools does. It standardizes everything and makes the child into a product, and there's no uniqueness left, you know.
Yeah, amazing. So yeah, we just spoke about fear of showing your art and fear of rejection. Now the next one is about working from home. Everybody has switched from going to office and working from home. Hi Tanvi, hi everybody watching. So since the lockdown, a lot of freelance artists and employees are working from home. This can become quite a mundane activity. What do you suggest to keep our day active and to feel purposeful?
So
And
like
I
I
also,
said,
sorry.
yeah,
I
go
also
ahead,
want
go
to
ahead.
relate this to the next question, which is what is the importance of working out or exercise with relation to stress relief? Because I know that this is going to come up in your answer.
Yeah. So the one thing we have to realize that, do you know when animals have you ever seen animal, like when you see National Geographic and stuff? When an animal is caught in the snare of the other animal, like a lion with a deer, and he hasn't been able to eat the deer, like say the deer escapes, you know what's the first thing that the deer does? It
It
shakes
says,
itself.
yeah.
It shakes. Remember, it shakes itself. Everything it shakes. Why? Because it's releasing trauma from the body. The only way we release trauma from the body only the way we release trauma is through our body. So remember, the more the stress, the way we have to release trauma is through movement. And movement does not mean, again, a 45-minute intense exercise. It's literally just dropping into your body. You want to stretch, you stretch. You want to do yoga, you do yoga. You want to dance, you dance. You want to just go up on the terrace and just do like 5 basic things, just do it. But remember that trauma is released from the body. So it's very important that we exercise. Exercise is not so much for weight. It's the mental thing that it does for us. It releases the stress hormones from the body. Cortisol is stuck here. It's not stuck here.
Shake it off. Shake it
Yeah,
off.
we've got to shake it off.
Okay, so that was
Yeah,
amazing.
the other part
And
of the question was
the other part of the
keeping the
question was
structure.
just, yeah, keeping the structure in your work from home environment.
Okay. Yeah, so like I said, the core routine, keep that going. And also do the spontaneous stuff that comes through the day. Like if you want to connect with something online, if you want to learn, this is a great time for learning, Shannon. If that's where you're at. If you can start learning something in this time, you'll exercise the brain in a different direction, right? So what happens is that when we go through stress and anxiety, our brain goes into one neural pathway. Once that's set, then that's the car going on the tires are gisawing on that day. The moment we learn something different, we're learning a new neural pathway. And that neural pathway will release the creativity. What we look for answers very directly in life. Have you realized the answers in life do not come directly? You do something else. Like whenever my clients are stressed, I'm like, go for a trek. And they're like, what do you mean go for a trek? I'm like, go for a trek. Something will come out of it. You may meet one person more. You may meet a villager and realize where you are in life, and suddenly a door will open. So you try something different. You try something different. So don't stay in your comfort zone. The space will open for something else to emerge.
Yeah. So exercise and just being active and
doing
not
something
really,
different.
doing something
different. Don't do the same thing on a daily basis, though when it's Groundhog Day every day. Within that day, try to do something that's going to open another pathway in your mind. That pathway in your mind will release something else.
Absolutely. Amazing. Right? So I hope you guys are liking the session. I'm feeling like it's so informative, and I want to watch this like again and again, because I'm going to save it and I'm going to watch it again and process everything that you're saying also. So the next one is about now before the lockdown. This is for artists before the lockdown, or even now, because we're also scrambling to make things work and trying to make money while being at home, and it's really difficult, just from a musician perspective. So my next question is, when you make it as an artist and are constantly on tour and busy all the time with lack of sleep, pressure to perform each night, what are some things that you can do to slow down and take a mental break from all the madness? So when you're really busy.
I don't like the word very busy. Uh, Busyness has swallowed people up. Busyness have made people distract from themselves. Busyness has taken people's vitality and creativity away. I'm not fond of the word busyness. I like the word things like presence or pause. You know. So all I'm saying is that when life becomes so busy, you know that when you're crooning, going from 60 to 120, you're gonna crash. Be aware. Take the
Yes.
pause. Okay, even if it's a busy concert, even if it's a busy, you're going from city to city, wherever you can, whenever you can, take that pause. You go into another city, your gig is in 2 hours, drop into your body an hour before. Take the pause. Okay, you haven't eaten, you take the pause to eat. Okay, so you learn to take your pauses. The pauses are very important in busyness. Otherwise, you're going to cream, you're going to crash. Either the body will give way, either the mind will give way, otherwise, you're going to be irritable and you're not going to be able to connect.
Yeah.
So, please pause in the moment, breathe in the moment, figure what does your body want in the moment, because nothing's going to come out from busyness. Nothing.
Absolutely.
Whatever's going to come out is going to come from the pause.
I hope my husband is watching this because he keeps asking me, he's like, am I doing too much? I'm like, you clearly are since you're asking me that question. Whether he's in
Shannon,
lockdown or wherever.
Our body always gives the answers. Our body never lies, right? The mind will lie to you, make 100 excuses, tell you need this, man, that next gig is so important, you need that bloody 1 lakh, 10 lakhs. You need it, you need it, you need it. Your mind is telling you. The body is actually speaking something very different. The body is saying, look, I'm exhausted. You're not honoring me. You want it out of greed. You want it out of because you think it's your security, right?
Yeah.
But actually, what do you want in the moment? What do you want? We don't sit and think, what do we actually want? Because even when we get the 10 lakhs, it's for a momentary. We're momentarily happy, Shannon, because then we want 20 lakhs.
Yes.
So figure out what is it that you want in the moment. And the body will never lie to you.
And the pauses.
And the pauses.
And the pauses. Amazing, amazing. So I wanted to talk to you about something that's also that has a big part to play in my life, and I feel like it has definitely affected the way that I think sometimes. Social media. What is your take on social media and how it affects us? How does it influence us? And I mean, maybe with your patients, have you ever had an issue where someone has been affected by this, or have you seen it influencing people and their mental
lots
health?
of ways. So one is, of course, especially with the teens, it's a crazy thing. I mean, why with the teens? It's with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Something just struck me the other day, and I was laughing. Phones were a way of communicating. They were never a way of entertainment.
Yeah.
And I had a good laugh, and I said, "My God, where have we come? We've gone from communication to using phones as entertainment, right? And social media again becomes a part of it. Is we soothe ourselves now through our phones. We get envious through our phones. We are comparing ourselves through our phone. Everything is from that screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything.
So it's yeah. So in the negative aspects are that it's a life that is being projected that we are believing in. We don't know the life behind the curtain or the screen. We get affected. We see people doing, like I said, the cooking moms, the workout moms, the I'm doing so much moms, and then the other moms, and it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So please limit it and look at it for what it is. Don't believe everything that comes on screen. Are you going to believe everything the media tells you? I mean, think about it. Use your own filters. So use it wisely. Use it for what is required. Like if it's a tool for learning, great.
Yeah.
If it's a tool for entertainment, pull yourself back. Now, this is where we blur the line. When I get online to learn something, when I'm on a Coursera, when I'm learning something, when I'm Googling something healthily, great. But the moment I'm scrolling for entertainment, now that's what you'll have to be a little careful about. Because then you've gone 2 hours of your life are lost.
Yeah, it disappears very quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Instagram is crazy.
And the more we look at the blue light from the screen, the more we will lose connection with what is around us.
Yeah.
and we'll walk into a virtual world, and it's not a good sign, Shannon.
Yeah,
And it affects
absolutely.
people's mental health. It gives them more anxiety. It doesn't allow them to connect. Never has there been a generation that there was somebody wrote that has done so little and recorded so much of it. So
That's so true. Yeah.
there were times when we looked up to people because there was a long history in what they did, right? When you look up like even a tennis star or a cricket star, there's a history that goes behind what they did. The years of practice. You looked up to them for a reason. But now the 15 minutes of fame, and people want to become the next TikTok star.
Yeah.
Right? And the whole thing is about, I want instant gratification. I want it here. I want it now. When I don't get it, then I've gone into sort of this sense of hopelessness and helplessness. And
Yeah.
that place is just...
Which is also related to another thing that somebody wrote, which is, why do I always have that feeling of like I'm not going to be good enough, is because you're so used to like the quick gratification that comes with social media.
Yeah.
I feel like that has a big part to play with it. Nobody's ever like, now everybody wants to be a great singer like this, and you don't see the person posting about their practice routine every day. You only see the final video, which is, by the way, edited a million times, maybe recorded to perfection, or edited to perfection, picture-wise, music-wise, whatever. So keep that in mind, everyone, when you're watching social media. It's a big, big factor. So coming into like now a little heavier stuff. This is something that I actually personally reached out to you about. I remember, and you were so helpful with me. How do you talk to a depressed person, and how does one say the right things to make them feel better as someone who genuinely cares about them?
So no shaming and blaming, please. And no like everything is going to be okay. And sab theek ho jayega, or ye bas ek, it's just a moment, or it's just a feeling, and it's just a phase. A lot of people use that a lot. It's just a phase. Don't worry. Get up, exercise, do this, do that, whatever. Look, advice is out. Okay. I always say hold space for the person. Tell the person that, look, while I may not be able to pull you out of the trenches, I'm here with you in the trenches. My hand is always going to be out for you. Whenever you feel like taking it, take it. I'm not leaving your side. I'm right here. I'm the container. And I think that's about enough. It's if you have read something that's inspiring, read it out. If you have gone for an exercise routine, say I had a wonderful exercise routine. You don't say, why don't you join me? Right? You just tell them what you feel. You are not, don't be depressed with them, but all you're doing is standing with them. And I think that makes a whole of a difference. And of course, you guide them to the right places. You do tell them that, would you like to speak to somebody? And please, if anybody's in the process of feeling suicidal, there is no question that person needs help. Now, that person may not realize it, but you get that help for that person. Now, that's not about, you are being the container also when you're doing that. So that's very different from what I'm saying is, when we fall into deep clinical depression, we get that person to the help that they require. When we're in the process of functional depression, then we hold space for that person, and we wait for that person, hopefully, to be able to reach out to us while we offer all the tools that are given.
Yeah.
Right?
So
but
advice
they do
is the worst.
Spaces. Yeah. And
Advice
that's what
is
I've
the
heard
worst.
people do.
Yeah.
Nobody
But that's
wants to
also
hear
in
that.
it's also in your natural, I guess it's just what we've done for so long, is also always wanted to say that to a person. And it doesn't come from a place of just, oh, I know that I could say that would make you feel better. But it also just comes from the genuinity, is that a word? Genuineness.
We'll make that one.
The genuinity of just wanting to help them. So I will definitely learn from what you've just spoken, and I will definitely change the way that I speak to somebody who I know is going through something, and just saying that I'm there for them, and just saying that I'm here. And if you need me, and if you don't need me, it's fine, but I'm here. Yeah. Amazing.
And what can I do to support you? What do you think is going to help? These are the places you can go for help. I can't force you to it, but I'm definitely here if you need to be taken, to be helped in any kind of way.
Yeah. You got a compliment from Varman Namrita, best therapist. She really is.
Oh,
I'm loving this
Thank
session.
you.
I'm loving it. Okay, so even before COVID, there were a lot of times when depression has led to substance abuse, which is, guys,
Yeah,
your heavy smoking, drinking, and drugs, and this is
yeah,
any age.
yeah.
Vasundhara V, an amazing vocal coach and singer, sorry, is saying, Alaokika, you're phenomenal.
Thank you
She's
so much.
phenomenal as well. Thanks for watching, Vasu. So even before COVID, a lot of times where depression has led to substance abuse. If you know someone who needs help and refuses to recognize that they have a problem, then how do you help them? Like you said, suicidal is something that you have to see and take very, very seriously. And you can't leave it up to the person to decide that, by the way, you do need help. I guess you'll have to do it for them. And if
Yeah,
it's substance abuse, then it can get really bad as well, right? So how
yeah.
have you dealt with maybe seeing someone like that?
So listen, it's a little complex thing to answer. Like I said, it's not a black and white answer.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get an alcoholic or a drug abuse to stop using because you tell them to. Okay, they are willing to put their families at stake. They're willing to put their finances at stake. We've seen people ruining their lives over the bottle or over drugs. So it's actually they who decide when they want to leave. It's I always have this saying, when you know when you give up. I said when the pain is enough for you or you've reached your tolerance level and you can't take the pain. What they call in at the dick language is rock bottom. They decide when they want the pain to end and they decide when they want help. But some of the things, like I'm saying, is if your addiction's gone up now, especially now, see, it's much more difficult because for addicts, distraction was a big one. Okay, their AA meetings in person were a big one. With all that stopping, they really have to look now for meaning to not go towards that drink. So please remember why you stopped drinking and remember that just because it's lockdown doesn't mean that you can, and remind yourself that play the tape forward. What is going to happen if you start drinking right now? Okay.
Yes.
Also look at things at one day at a time, sometimes even one moment at a time. Okay, you don't have to find it. Get your AA meetings online, find that sponsor. And one of the big things about people who are tempted to drink now especially is boredom.
Yeah.
That's a big one because addicts have a very restless mind. So you will have to sort your routine out strictly and keep going in that. Challenging, but not impossible. Um, so we'll have to look at some of these things. And like I said, substance abuse is very tricky. It's complicated. You can't just get someone to stop drinking. They will
Yeah.
have to stop drinking for themselves.
What if it's like someone who you're living with? And this is also in connection to our next question. What if you're living in a toxic home environment during the lockdown or otherwise, but
Yeah,
it's worse
yeah,
during the lockdown?
yeah,
And what if you have no choice when what if it's your dad or your mom who's an addict of some sort and you're the child and you're in that
yeah.
environment at home and there's no escaping for you right now? How would you deal with something like that?
I know that's extremely traumatic. And again, it doesn't have a right or wrong answer. It doesn't have a
Answer,
black or
yeah.
white answer. Um, if you can find it, what I call a competent protector, if there is an aunt in the neighbor, if there is a neighbor, if there's somebody you can reach out to, keep that person as a competent protector. And I'm talking about situations where the person can't leave or escape, right? I
Correct.
can't even go to another home. I don't know if I can report this in the police right now, whether things are going to work out. I'm not talking about situations like that. We have direct ways to deal with it. If there's domestic abuse, there's a domestic abuse helpline. There are shelters you can go to. But again, let's not get into that zone. When I can't get out and I know that there's a toxic environment, I look for what I can do within the situation, which is find a competent protector. Now, this could mean a lot of things. Either physically, there's someone's home I can actually go to, even in COVID times. Okay. Or there is a competent protector in my head. My grandmother. I think of my grandmom. I think of that aunt. I think of that story I read. I think of people protecting me. So within the situation, my tolerance level goes up. Because
Yeah.
minus that, it's very difficult. And we don't have a clean cut solution for this.
Yeah. Very true.
So
Oh, it's
one day
there's
at a
also
time,
this, yeah, yeah, one day at a time, absolutely.
one
And
moment at a time, your boundaries in place. Look, and I always say, don't provoke the person right now, not like the abuser needs provocation, but at this point in time when you can't escape, just stay out of the firing line as much as you can. As
yeah,
much as you can.
even if
You
it's
know?
emotional abuse, because I know someone who's going through that right now, and there's absolutely no choice, but they have to live with the person.
Yeah.
And even though the person maybe doesn't even recognize that they're hurting the other person,
Yeah.
it still exists and it still affects the other one really, really badly. And there's no choice but to live with it. So what were you saying about staying out of the firing line would be just avoiding them at home as much as
See,
possible?
a part of their whole abuser's mentality is to provoke you because they're waiting for it, right? They're looking for
Yeah,
the chaos and the drama. They're looking for the target. So they're going to come and provoke you. You're going to get provoked. There's going to be an explosion. Someone's going to get hurt, right? And I'm just saying, I'm not saying again, they don't need provocation. But if they do call for provocation, just stay out of their firing line. Don't engage with them. Don't
yeah,
allow them to hurt you, but don't engage with them. Try and stay away. If they shout, don't answer back as of now.
yeah,
Unfortunately, in these times, the bully has to remain a bully as long as the bully doesn't touch you. If that's
yeah,
the best that we can do right now, good enough. It's good enough. And we're looking at good enough. We're not looking at perfect. We're not looking at finding a solution. We're looking at how am I going to survive today without really getting hurt? What can I
yeah,
do to protect myself today? That's the intention when you wake up every morning. Don't think about the next day. Don't think about the day after that. Just think about how am I going to cross today without getting hurt, without coming in the way, and doing little things for myself. You start with that much, it's good enough.
absolutely. Amazing.
It's good enough.
Thank you for that. So I mean, everything that we've spoken about has been with regards to starting off. We spoke about the freelance artist and the creativity space, fear of rejection, fear of putting out your art, things like that. Then we also went into a little bit of the heavy stuff, which is, substance abuse and being in a toxic environment. Now, there's a last question, which is very interesting, which is from one of my favorite people, one of your favorite people too. What if I have FOGO? And guys, I didn't even know this was a thing.
We coined
If
that
you,
term, Anika and me.
yeah, if you've heard of FOMO, FOGO, JOMO, it's all the same thing. Fear of going out. When all this craziness is over, and I didn't even know that this is a problem, by the way. When all this is over, how do I ease back into reality? How do I feel safe? How do I feel okay to be around people again?
I think taking very, very small steps, right? So that we don't get overwhelmed. Um, so we start exposing ourselves back to our lives in very, very minuscule ways. So we don't completely start going out if that's what, and this happens to people actually, Shannon, who are very sensitive. Okay.
Yeah,
We call them HSPs, highly sensitive people. Highly sensitive people cannot take sensation overload. HSPs cannot, right? So the thing is that once they retreat into themselves, the world outside becomes a cacophony. So
yeah,
you can't go into the full orchestra. So you start with one instrument at one time. Okay. So you
correct.
hear the violin, and then you hear the keyboard, and then you hear the guitar, and then hopefully one day this works for all of you in the artist. Then you can take the orchestra coming, but don't
Yeah,
start uh, with the whole orchestra because the sensory overload will be too much, and you won't be able to handle it. So
absolutely. And I
one
think
one instrument at one time.
baby steps with everything, with everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, this has been so insightful, Alaukika. I cannot tell you how amazing it has been for me personally, and I'm sure for everybody who's commenting, Crystal, Vasundhara, Tanvi, everybody who's Vibhor, Parul. Thank you guys so much for joining in for this very, very important and pertinent session applying to what we're all going through together. So I feel maybe find some solace in the fact that we're really going through something together for the first time. The whole world is,
So,
and yeah,
sorry, I'm going to leave you with one thing, Shannon, about what we talked about the freelance artists, because I think that's the main thing. I think most important is solidarity. If all of you unite in some ways, there's a sense of unity that comes in that we're not alone. Second of all, I've realized our necessities have become our luxuries.
yeah,
Right? So we have to cut down where we have to. We have to realize that our necessities have become a luxury. We have to realize that everyone's in it. We don't have answers right now. We take a day at a time. We learn how to manage our emotions, and then we see what's going to come up next. Right? So that's what I wanted to emphasize more and more, because freelancers don't have that structure. They don't have that. I'm the only one suffering becomes much bigger because I don't have that income coming in monthly. But when I realized there are hundreds of us in the same boat, there is a sense of solidarity that comes, and something will come out of solidarity. Something always comes out of connection, Shannon.
Yeah.
Not out of economy, but out of connection. So don't worry about the money. Your connections will get you to your goals, not the economy, not your finances, but the solidarity that you all will hold together.
Yes. So, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. There are a lot of things that have been happening where simple things like coming together and collaborating with an artist. A lot of things have opened up that we just didn't have time for before. And it's been really nice because I'm simultaneously working on so many projects with different people. And it's just something that wouldn't have come up if the lockdown wasn't, in place. So there have been a lot of positives as well. I also want to say that 2020 is bad. And I feel like the bigger thing is the media, because every time I open social media, there's always an article about now we have locusts roaming around. And what is the thing in USA? Flesh-eating insects have now invaded the USA. And then now we have
the biggest one is the one who's talking most of the time. God, it needs to be banned.
Yeah, that to forget. Both of them, the best friends. And what is the thing? The Kolkata, what's been happening? Like, there's been a lot of craziness, but we have to realize that the whole year is going to pass by. So, whatever we can do. I'm going to take all your advice that you gave to heart, and I'm going to watch this session again in peace and process everything.
We can coin 2020 is what I call the word, which I've taken from Glennon Doyle, is called brutiful. Life is brutal and beautiful. It's a beautiful year. And 2020 will be beautiful. It'll be brutal. It'll be beautiful. It'll be in moments. Sometimes we have beauty. Sometimes we have brutalness. But somehow we'll find it for joining together. And we'll come out with this. Most important.
We will. Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Alaokika,
much. Thank you for having me, Shannon. It was
absolutely
lovely.
Of course. You've helped majorly. I mean, I'm reading all the comments as we speak, and we've done an hour of just speaking with. You've spoken with such clarity.
Gone by so fast.
Yeah. You've spoken with so much clarity, and I really hope that when I post this, even to the Vocal Tribe Facebook, that a lot of other artists who missed this out will watch it and get a lot of insight. So thank you everybody for joining in and watching.
Thank you so much.
And once again,
such an honor.
For you giving out your time to us, we really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye guys. See you.
Bye. See you.
Bye.